As promised, this is going to be the video about the vocals and how I process them and went about making them for this song. I mentioned in the last one about all my vocal takes, but then I found out later that the little video of me inset here was covering it so you couldn't see it. But this is what I was talking about. I do a lot of vocal takes till I'm like really happy with what I've recorded, and I give them all names, you know, just in my own, like how I would speak to myself, like, hey, yeah, this is real good, pretty good, good second half, good. Like I tell myself that, and I color code them all. The default for this was the dark blue, and then I usually give this like very mid blue whenever something's like good enough. If I have to settle for it, it's good enough. I can use it. And when something is really, really good and it's like, oh, you're going to use this, it's always one of these like really minty greens. It's always a green, basically, but not a dark green. I save that for like bass and delays and stuff. I don't know. But you can see all the takes that I did and how I went through them, and I was like, oh, I don't know, is this like a really good one to go through? You could see that this one had two separate takes of the same sections in it, but that I had decided to move the marker, the start point, to the middle of it because the first take was like, garbage. I don't want it anyway. And I finally decided, like, okay, these are the good takes. These are the good takes. I divide them up into what part of the song they are most relevant for. So the first verse only has one vocal track on it, whereas the chorus has a part where it doubles itself. Let me get this out of the way for you guys. It actually has a part where it is doubling. Make this bigger. Oh, cool. It only made that one bigger. That's great. Anyway, I have two vocals happening here to kind of like really send home the one another part. And in the bridge, there's even more. There's a part where at the very end I have that really high, like an octave higher version of what I'm singing, and it's layered on top of these ones. Let's see, I'm gonna hate hearing the sound of my own voice, but here we go. Can you feel the time? God damn. Anyway, that's what that sounds like. Whereas the other ones were like a normal octave. Here we go. Oh no, two of them are high. I guess I just doubled up on the high parts. Whatever. Anyway, the processing for these is very similar for me. My process is, once I'm very happy with the take and I've applied like a light level of EQ and compression to it to sort of think, what is it going to sound like in the end? Not that this is the final form or anything like that, but I know where I'm very harsh on my S's. You've probably heard it if you know me in real life, that my S's are very harsh sometimes, so I need to use a de-esser always. The EQ, I know parts of my voice that like are irrelevant. I have a slightly higher voice than a lot of guys, so I know that things below like 120 hertz, like I don't need any of that. And a lot of times actually below 178 I've found over the course of my life. I don't really need much of it. Yeah, actually I bet you this is probably right around there. Oh, 352 even. Shit. I took out a lot of low end here. And then some compression, of course. Once I know that it kind of is like a really viable take, like, yo, this could be really, really good, what I do is I save myself the CPU. I say that a lot, but damn, it's like a constant struggle unless you have like a supercomputer. And I don't. I mean, I have a decent computer, but it's not a supercomputer. So I save myself the CPU, and what I do is I disable this actual like vocal processing unit. It's called Nectar, and it has like a bunch of tools in it. But I disable it, and I instead pull in a chain of audio repair tools, because even though I recorded it into a microphone by myself and the room was pretty quiet, this isn't a pro studio. Like, this is my office. I can't guarantee that there's not some little imperfection in it on a technical level. Like my mouth might have made like a click. I don't know if you can hear that, but like a glottal sound. My plosives could have been really powerful and kind of blowing the mic a little bit, and I just don't want that to be the axe that kills that vocal take. It might be like, but I really like this aside from that. How come? I'm like, you know what, that's really good, even though the k sound was like pretty harsh. So instead what I'll end up doing is I'll use this chain, and I can find it for you here. It is under, let's see, user library, presets, audio effects, audio effect rack, RX Quick Vocal Repair. That's what I call it. So let me actually open a new track for you guys. Oh, audio 9, cool. This is what my, my vocal repair chain looks like. And I always start with this, and then I do everything else. So first off is the breath. So this one is to just control if I had any audible in between the notes I'm singing. Good, straightforward. This one is the mouth declicking. That's what I said before, like your tongue kind of moves around sometimes, or your glottis moves around. It helps cut those. It detects when those happen, or it tries to detect when those happen, and lower the volume on those so I don't have to go in later and surgically remove them. Then there's a deplosive that happens after that, which is what I was saying, all your plosive sounds. It tames them. And then a de-esser. So even before I use the de-esser in like the studio tools, I use a de-esser like practically up front in like an audio repair tool. That's why it's called RX, like medicine. Anyway, this is really CPU heavy. So I apply it to all the vocal tracks and I'm happy with them. And then I freeze all of them, which actually processes the audio. And then I flatten all of them. So other programs call it bouncing, you know, they can call it whatever they want, but it makes it now an audio file. So instead, it makes it one audio file without the effects on it, like it's already been applied to it, like it's been exported. So now I'm not working with my original raw, like Matthew saying into a microphone. Like, no, this has been treated a little bit where Matthew hasn't, you know, just sung into a microphone next to his computer. He's like elsewhere, you know, maybe a studio. And after that, I can begin to apply some of these actual processing effects. And you're seeing this already at the state where I've already done that because, like I said, I need to save myself the CPU and I don't want to worry about that. So once these are all there, the other part that you just want to like make really sure of is that the timing on a lot of them is correct. So I may not have sang perfectly for some parts of it, and little variations in timing, as you can see here. This peak here, like this big part, is not really aligned with the big part of this. And this peak is not perfectly aligned. Well, it's actually like right there. It's not perfectly aligned with where the peak is on this one or on this one, I'd say somewhere between here. But those changes in timing actually lend themselves to that like really wide sound. So it's not all bad. It's only if it's too much that I'm like, oof, let me get in here real close and let me nudge this whole thing and I drag it over just a little bit so that I'm happy with it. If I'm off by a specific, on a specific word or a specific line, I can actually add a cut in between here and slice the track and then move just that portion over as well to get it where I want to get it. I'm not making like the most pro like Mariah Carey level pop music though, so I don't have the need to really get precise like some folks do. For me, it's more just kind of like, make it sound good, bro, make it sound good. And then of course it gets nectar. Let's see what else some of them get. Yeah, they all get their own nectar at first. And then they all go through like a ton of effects here, but I usually disable this and I rework with them at the mixing stage that I'll talk about later. One thing I want to mention here is you might have seen there's a grain delay here. This is actually that effect that you hear in the chorus. Let me play both of these for you. Oh, here it is. Time for one another. It's that high voice. It's that high voice repeating it. Let's see here. That is a grain delay that I have put on that vocal take. So the actual take itself is pretty quiet because the wet-dry mix is more wet than dry. And here in the grain delay, I have the pitch going up 12 steps, so a full octave above. The rest is frequency controls and how many times it's going to repeat, like a standard delay. But that's how I got that high effect. There are other ways to do it. Some people just pitch up the audio itself and repeat it. Some people use other like distortion toolbox effects that like have multiple things going on. I knew that the grain delay was capable of doing this, so I just wanted to see what it would sound like. And it gave me just like choppy enough, yet high-pitched of what I wanted that there was no need to go look for anything more specialized than that. Like this is a standard tool that comes in Ableton. Some other DAWs, it might not. I don't know. I cannot speak for them. I think that might be it. Yeah, that's it. Well, we'll talk more about the mixing process later, but this is at least, you know, from a very general sense, this is my usual approach to dealing with my own vocals, which I hate doing, but it's all part of what you got to do.